Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I support this program and the completion of this crucial project. I believe the money should come from offsets in other areas. Like my colleagues, I voiced my concern regarding the cost overruns and schedule delays, but these guys are doing something that's never been done before. And although all Americans recall the infamous bridge to nowhere, the endeavor we're speaking of today, Mr. Chairman, is a bridge to everywhere. So I concur with my colleagues that believe that the United States should be #1 on Earth, and thus we must be #1 in space. And as a Christian principled man, it's fascinating to me to observe as science begins to come to grips with "let there be light." And this is the mission that could bring us to a new level of understanding never dreamed of before. Mr. Bridenstine, thank you for your service, sir. The Independent Review Board recommends that NASA and Northrop Grumman Aerospace Systems should take a number of actions to address human errors during the integration and testing phase to prevent or at the very least detect embedded problems before they affect the project schedule. It's important for you to explain. Please elaborate on what actions NASA has taken to ensure that Northrop Grumman is properly implementing the recommendations that the Independent Review Board suggested to ensure that human error and embedded problems will not continue.
So one of the reasons that we have extended the time of the program is ultimately to go back and look at all of the components that go into the entire spacecraft from the beginning. And ultimately to determine whether or not there are other embedded problems, like the issue we had with the fasteners, like the issue we had with using the wrong solvent to clean the thrusters. Are there any other of those issues that might have been accomplished years ago that ultimately could end up revealing themselves in space? And what we want to do is make sure that
fix that on the ground.
Fix it on the ground.
Understood. So you're very focused on the 32 recommendations that have been concluded by the review board.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And for the record, Mr. Young, in regard to NASA and Northrop Grumman's plan for implementing your board's recommendations, how soon do you recommend a review of those implementation plans?
That's really a good question. I actually, and it's a decision for NASA to decide, when they want that to be done. My personal judgment is that in the next couple of months, the course is going to be set for JWST and hopefully the success of
Mr. Bridenstine seems to be very animated and sincere about following your recommendations. Can you provide for this committee, sir, in writing a recommendation would you believe should be a time frame for a review of those implementations? Say 90 days or whatever you believe it would be. Mr. Young, can you provide that?
Yes,
and Mr. Bridenstine, will you provide that as well, that you'll concur with that?
Absolutely. In fact,
okay, let me jump forward. These cost overruns, they predate my service at the congressional level. They predate your service for NASA, sir. So we're just living with what we have. But we have to finish this thing. And it's fascinating, as you're pointing out, that the largest issues you're dealing with is a never-before-designed spaceship. Now, had that spaceship been designed prior, would we have eliminated a lot of the problems that we've encountered with cost overruns?
Absolutely.
So is it not reasonable to conclude that future NASA projects and future space exploration projects will certainly draw upon the knowledge that you all are frontiering right now and pioneering engineering regarding heat shields in this particular type of spacecraft? Is it not reasonable to conclude that the work you're doing now and the treasure we're investing now, Mr. Chairman, will benefit future projects and future generations of all mankind?
Absolutely. We have bought down a ton of risk through this process.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield.